Welcome to 1000 PS TV and welcome to the first test of the new Suzuki GSX-8R. And when I saw it for the first time, I thought to myself, okay, maybe it's more of a touring sports bike, an everyday sports bike. But no, Suzuki is serious now. I'm here in Spain at the Circuit de Monteblanco on a real racetrack. We've really stepped on the gas there, and I'm going to tell you about it now. Is it more of a sports bike? Is it more of a touring bike? Or can it perhaps do both perfectly? In any case, stay tuned. For me personally, it was a predictable and quite logical step for Suzuki to take on the basis of this 800cc platform. There are already the V-Strom models with the 800cc twin engine and the naked bike, the GSX-8S. And as I said, it was quite a logical and predictable step to bring out something sporty on this basis, because if we want to talk briefly about the 8S, it really has, how should I put it, very sensible basic ingredients. It is a stable chassis, a high-quality constructed frame, a beautifully shaped swing arm, and this basic stability, which the naked bike already had inside, so we thought, okay, that must actually work perfectly with this sportier approach. And that was no surprise, to put it in a nutshell. That's actually the case. Let's go through it a bit. How do the two bikes differ? What is really different? We have not two low-placed clip-ons here, so the seating position is really okay. It's really comfortable. The grip height of the handlebars doesn't change that much in comparison with the naked bike, but the stubs are a bit more inclined towards the rider, and so you have a different grip. It's also a bit narrower. It's not that wide naked bike handlebar, but still, to put it in a nutshell, in terms of ergonomics, it's really comfortable and looks sportier than it is. So you can easily go on tours lasting several days. Suzuki has also announced a soft luggage system as an accessory. We've seen photos of it. And yes, I think it fulfills this touring requirement very well. Because the knee angle, the seat height, that's all unchanged from the naked bike. The seat height is 810 millimeters. The knee angle, I can also sit on it for a moment. It's fine, it's really comfortable. However, if you look at the windscreen again, you have to say that the fairing is very compact. We have the same familiar 5-inch TFT in the front of the cockpit, which is perfectly readable. But all around it is just a compact, frame-proof paneling design. Engine? It really is a great engine in this class. This new 800cc Suzuki engine is a real enrichment. We have 78 Newton meters. In this case, that's almost the more important value than the power, namely the torque that surges out from the bottom from 4,000 revolutions, and that's really fun. It's important and really fun. You really have a wonderfully cultivated, smooth engine running, and you can always apply this torque. So that I mentioned the power anyway. It's 83 horsepower, which complements these 78 Newton meters, and the fact is that there's not so much going on at the top end. You've also noticed this on the racetrack, which I'll go into later. It is the case that these last 1,000 revolutions are often not used at all and that you shift into the next gear beforehand because, as I said, there's so much torque, and yes, you may already realize that I really like the engine. I have to say they've done a really good job. In terms of electronics, maybe to get into it now, the quick shifter is standard. I think it's cool. With other manufacturers, you have to pay extra. Suzuki makes it standard. I think that's great. You have the technology and the components, and it doesn't cost the earth. So why not make it a standard feature? Well done, Suzuki. Apart from that, we have classic riding assistant systems, not lean angle dependent, but still really top-notch in terms of function. You have to say 3 performance modes that influence the throttle response. So to speak, active, basic, and comfort. The name says it all. There are also 3 levels of traction control. Today, I was mainly riding in levels 2 and 1. And it has to be said that the outside temperature here is 20 degrees Celsius, and on the racetrack, of course, anyway. But this level 1 is really okay. So even as a sporty rider, you don't miss anything here. It's great. And of course, when things get a bit sportier on the racetrack, you might be tempted to try switching it off. That's also something very cool. You can switch it off on the fly. So I can really switch it off while I'm driving here. I just need to close the throttle, select it in the menu, and bang, it's off. And when I need it, it's like pressing a button twice again, and it's back on. I think it's really cool that Suzuki gives riders this freedom. It's true that design is, of course, always subjective. I don't know if it doesn't come across in the pictures. But this paneling, the shape of the mirrors, the fact that these fittings, these grips here are black in the cockpit, the brake lever is adjustable in width, these forged clip-ons. It all looks real, really solid. Super job, Suzuki. Despite the relatively reasonable price, in Germany it cost 9,800 euros, so it's 900 euros more expensive than the naked bike. Of course, there is more to it, more fairing, etc. It really is a fully fledged motorbike. And even I, 1 meter and 90 centimeters tall, have found my way around it wonderfully. Now I wanted to talk about one more topic, namely the braking system. The braking system on the GSX-8R is basically the same as on the 8S, but I still wanted to say that the brakes work fantastically. It was just really worth mentioning because on the country road you really have a super lever feel, a really crisp pressure point, and can decelerate really ambitiously. On the racetrack, the ABS intervened again and again and caused a bit of unrest. And we had the really cool opportunity to ride here today with an Endurance World Championship rider from the Suzuki team, and he said, "Should we just maybe pull the ABS fuse?" And I said, "Yes, great, super." Of course, I would like to try that on the racetrack. He was also very much on the road, and actually there is now nothing in the menu or in the display somehow with the modes. So the ABS is always on by default, but of course you can simply remove this fuse and then use it for track day if you know what you are doing, and at your own risk. And then this braking system has revealed its true potential. It's really marvelous how crisply and ambitiously you can hold in the corner entry, how much you can fire into this apex. And this feeling of leverage, even after these 30-minute turns, which were really long and intense, simply didn't diminish. And in this class, I think that is something that is important, and yes, I just wanted to mention that again, and I think that really contributes to this very sporty character that the motorbike brings with it, and you really don't have to be afraid of track day visits with the right tires, and as I said, for all those who can and want to know, even without ABS, you can really test the limits and still have a good feeling of safety. While we're on the subject of the racetrack, perhaps a quick word about lean angle clearance, which is not excessive, but I would say that with a slightly higher footrest system, you could really get a lot of potential out of it. Getting used to the lean angle, that feeling that works really well in the standard trim, and yes, I have to say I really had fun on the racetrack, even with the small 8R. But now let's take a look at the chassis, because there are differences to the naked. The suspension no longer comes from Kayaba, but from Showa. And of course, we had to ask the developers this question yesterday at the presentation. Why this step? Why go to Showa, to this big piston fork? And I have to say, I didn't get a clear answer. Of course, somewhere along the line, I have to say, it will be this cost factor, but I personally believe, after talking to the Japanese engineers, that they actually did it for weight reasons. Of course, they were looking for a slightly tighter setup overall, but nevertheless, they kept explaining that there is a linear fork spring in the front, for example, and not a progressively wound spring. And we were told that this spring alone saves 150 grams. And anyone familiar with this Showa big piston system will know that the fork doesn't have a classic cartridge inside, which simply makes it lighter. And that's why I somehow surmise that this was mainly done for weight reasons. And weight is of course also something important for a sporty motorbike, as it stands here, ready to ride, fully fueled. It weighs 205 kilograms. That's 3 kilos more than the naked bike, which probably goes on the fairing. So there's simply more motorbike here. There are more components, so to speak, and of course it's not the lightest in the class. And if you look at this class now, there's not really that much competition. Sure, Yamaha brought the R7, Aprilia brought the RS 660 some time ago, and Honda has also recently revised the CBR 650R with this E-clutch. So it really does manage this balancing act very well between racetrack performance thanks to this stable, high-quality chassis, but also thanks to this relaxed seating position, the relaxed knee angle, and even the possibility of putting luggage on the back, that everyday life is super easy to move, and that you will definitely enjoy it. There is also, for example, a higher windscreen that can be fitted and a nice pillion cover. Of course, you can customize it. And what I also wanted to mention on the racetrack, and then also go into the driving impression a bit, we had a really sporty tire on here, Dunlop Sportsmart TT. We were really pleased that they swapped the more civilian road tire for something sportier. Of course, this tire allowed us to explore these limits a little and really push them to the limit. And it has to be said that the whole bike behaves very well. But when you're really sporty and traveling on the last groove, you have to say that the rear end is a little unstable. So this taut front end is very much to my liking. It fits wonderfully, but I would have liked a little more rebound from the rear. This performance doesn't overtax this shock absorber, but we simply noticed that the whole thing lacks a bit of rebound damping. But of course that's now through my sporty glasses here after half a day on the racetrack. We were always riding turns for 30 minutes, so it was really intense. Yes, that's a bit of a conclusion, but as you can see, there's not much to complain about. I have hardly any criticism of this bike because it really offers value for money. It's made to a high standard. You're happy when you sit on it, happy when you look at it, and of course even happier when you ride it. Perhaps they could have made the shock adjustable so that the customer at least has the option of making it a little softer, a little harder. Only the preload is adjustable. And I found one more criticism, the Spartan ignition lock. Of course, it's nothing really serious, it's such a small thing. Yes, but guys, I'd be interested to know what you think about the GSX-8R. Do you like it? Let me know in the comments. Would you go on a track day with it? Please let me know. I really enjoyed it, I have to say, both on the country road and on the racetrack. Great bike, great addition to the 2024 season. Guys, yes, and with those words, I really want to say goodbye here from Spain. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Ciao.